ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
The challenge is those of you, because y'all are listening, people who don't have a whole lot of melanin, y'all are listening. You know whiteness is a made-up construct, because if you listen to the show, if you're a part of the show, not just trolling and mad in your feelings and calling up being hateful, but if you're a human being listening to the show and you don't have a whole lot of melanin, you know that there's a construct that puts you in a category that automatically makes everybody that's not in your category less than. And that was done through music, through art, through television and movies, which is also art. You know, you think about Birth of a Nation and this drumbeat advertisement. I talk about my dad with the Gold Dust Twins and feeling really, really self-conscious about being a dark-skinned Black person because he was inundated with ads that showed him as dirty. Right. And, you know, and so there's always this kind of like thing that we're trying to break. And it's those of you who benefit from the system should be the ones out there with the hammers.
Yes,
you should
absolutely.
be the ones out there with the hammers. Olivia's absolutely right. And I love that she said that because she is doing it. She messes with them. She F's up their minds because she's not supposed to be doing the things she's doing. But that is a requirement if you really want to live in a society where everybody matters, unless you only want you to matter. And I'm going to tell you the trick of this. As you are sitting in the seat of oppression, watching everybody being snatched up or whatever, and you voted for this, it's happening to you. You know why I know it's happening? Because your representatives are like, hey, wait a minute. You mean my rural people aren't going to have health care? you mean my state that's 99% white? Wait a minute. Because you can't give America pneumonia and or a cold and expect you not to get sick by it. It's happening. They are infecting all of us. You're not going to be able to escape it.
This is the thing that, and I've said this before, Karen, this is that thing about social solidarity, which we don't have in this country, is this idea that, you know, poor white people tend to vote not for themselves. They don't vote because Black people have always been very utilitarian in the way they've done things, right? Whether it was those congressmen in South Carolina that when they were rejected, or was Georgia, when they were ejected from Congress in the 1860s during Reconstruction by the white supremacists, when they came back, they didn't think, let's get retribution. They were like, we should just pay those people for their time so that they don't feel like they wasted their time. That's what they did, right? We have school systems in this country because Robert Smalls, an enslaved African, wrote one of the first laws that actually funded education in South Carolina, which ended up being the model for the rest of the world, the rest of the country.
Wait, Robert Smalls, who hijacked a boat,
yes,
and escaped from enslavement, hijacking a boat, and then came and fought for his own free. Like, that story alone should be told.
Yes.
Somebody who could tell stories very well and write well and direct well and produce cinematography and all that. Hey, Ryan.
I wrote a book about him.
I know you did. 866-801-8255, but more of that. More of those. Joe Christian Gill is here. So there's this big, beautiful bill, and it's going to harm a lot of people. Shame on Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, who, once again, could have done something, but they don't have courage. They don't have any fortitude in their character. They are cowards at their core and liars. Susan Collins especially is a coward and a liar.
Absolutely.
I think she is all of that. Because here's what she said. What was this, last month? Susan Collins, representative from Maine. Play the last month clip.
Well, I'm very concerned about the cuts in Medicaid and the impact on my state, but other states as well. I've also been concerned about the health of rural hospitals, nursing homes, community health centers, and have been working on a provider relief fund. But that doesn't offset the problem with the Medicaid.
Oh, I'm so upset about these.
Who are these? What is? I don't. Like this renders me. I just can't talk because it's so ridiculous. What is the point? What is the point? It feels like what is it? Evilness is the purpose, right? Does it feel like that to anybody else?
It, you know, it feels like they had a plan and they're going to stick to it. It feels like they had a plan. They had a 100-year plan, okay, that started after started after the Civil War,
Yeah.
and during Reconstruction they were like, oh hell no, hell no, nope. We tried to put them all on boats and send them back to Africa. They staying, okay, all right, kill Lincoln. Part number one, get rid of him. And then we're going to do a fake compromise. We're going to give reparations back to these enslavers. And then we're going to re-enslave the black people. We're going to create a chain gang. Oh, the 13th Amendment that abolishes slavery. Let's put a butt clause in there so then we can criminalize blackness and then put them back on in prison. And then we ain't even got to worry about them because they don't belong to us anymore. So we ain't got to feed or clothe them. Let's do the sharecropping thing. Oh, y'all got them factories? Okay, let's go. Let's go.
I actually think it's probably closer to you're right. I think it's closer to 100-year plan. I think this all happened after FDR, after Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and like the Great Society, not Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, but this idea that we're gonna feed the poor. We're gonna give everybody jobs. Did you know that in 1930, there was a poll that came out that they asked most Americans, white or black, if they thought the government should give them a job, and something like 67% of the people responded that the government should give them a job. And so what they did is that the predatory capitalists got a hold of these ideas, and they started thinking, oh, how can we turn the everyday people against the idea of taking care of the poor, of taking care of the elderly and feeding children? How can we turn them against that? We just make it all about black children. So not only are we criminalizing black people, but we're racializing all of these issues. And so we make these people against it. And so if anybody's ever read this book, if you haven't read it out there, you should read it. That book, Dying of Whiteness, and that quote in Dying of Whiteness, which still haunts me to this day, about this man who was dying from a curable type of cancer. And if he were like a 50-mile radius in a different direction, he would have had access to Obamacare. But he didn't have access to it because there was some prohibition on it, or that state that he was in was suing about it. And the guy says, even if I did, I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't want some welfare queen to get health care. Like, he died specifically because he did. Like, this is wild to me that people don't like. People see them. They see Jeff Bezos spent $50 million on a wedding, and people are like, we need to make sure he gets a tax cut.
Child. But that's the thing, right? So I was actually going to do a really quick history of race and whiteness and how we got here. I'm going to do it really quickly. I was going to talk about, Reconstruction. Oh, shoot, black people can vote. All these black people coming to Congress. Oh, they get to determine themselves. They get to represent themselves. The thing that we fought for against the damn British, taxation without representation, these black people are paying taxes. Now they're sending people to Congress, they're building towns. Their towns are nicer than ours. Oh, because they know how to build stuff. Oh, wait a minute. You got a piano? I don't have a piano. Hold up. Wait a minute. Terror. Here comes Birth of a Nation, giving people a license to go ride on, as cowards, put on these white sheets and go preserve white women's virtue. So you got to now demonize the black people, the black men in particular, as rapists. Sound familiar? They're rapists. They're going to take your women. They're rapists. They're going to take your women. We got to preserve that. And that was the whole permission to go start lynching. And they did, right?
They did.
So then we got
Bloody Summer.
Right. Then we got 20, 30 years of decimation of communities we build, they come and destroy. And then you're right, the New Deal didn't include us. It didn't include us. So it wasn't FDR. It was the propaganda, to your point, the minstrelsy and all of the things that then made it possible. Hitler took our Jim Crow laws and built the Nuremberg laws, but it was the propaganda. He had a whole propaganda machine around demonizing Jewish people. It's effective. And it only took him less than 10 years to do that.
Yes.
We've had 100 plus years of demonization that we even buy into because that's how indelible it is. So the work is on all of us to fight every day the ways in which we have been brainwashed into believing a thing about a people where we can sit back and watch folk being snatched off the street and say, that's not our problem. Well, guess what? Today it might be, because now 500,000 Haitians are being deported. And I don't know about you, Joel Christian Gill, but you might look like a Haitian to me.
Right. People have spoken French to me before thinking I was Haitian. People like what, you know, so this yesterday we had a couple of hours. So we went to the MoMA. And I hadn't been in a while. And I found myself sitting for a long time in front of the Migration series by Jacob Lawrence. And if you don't know the Migration series, and if you're in New York, go and sit in front of it and read it. It's the story of, I don't like to call it the Great Migration. I like to call it Black refugees from the South, right? Because that's really what Black people were doing, including my uncle who ran from the South because of white violence. And just looking at the ways in which Lawrence, and there's another guy who was writing with it. I wish I had known his name now, but another guy who wrote this with him, like how they were talking about the Black migrants who were coming from the South and the riots that were happening and like the judicial system and how it was treating them. This is the thing that I was talking about with themes, Karen. Like, this is a theme. We are looking at them doing the exact same thing to people coming over the border. And then those people who argue that it's not, like, we're like, Jesus didn't say help the stranger. He meant help the Christian, right? 81 of the people that coming across the border identify as Christians. 81% of those people. Right.
There were no Jesus ain't never mentioned no Christians.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's this argument.
No, I do know what you're saying. Yeah. I just need to clarify for the people.
Yeah, he didn't say,
like, Joe, there was no such thing as a Christian back then.
There were no Christians. There were no white people too in the Bible too, by the way. If y'all are thinking about no white people in the
Bible. Zero white people in the Bible. New and Old Testament.
No white people.
Us. Come on. And it's not because white didn't exist.
Didn't exist. Yeah.
Minis. All right.
But yeah, when they talk about this whole thing, right, about how we, you know, because I've had family members like in the past say things derogatory about immigrants. And I'm like, you guys don't realize that this is like this. They just move to the next group that they can subjugate. Right. They just move to another group that they can subjugate. Right. And if they happen to do the things that they're trying to do, which is to basically wipe out the brown people here, you think that's going to be all right? They don't stop. Right. It doesn't stop.
So I'm pulling clips for this show. The sources don't matter. We chew up the meat, spit out the bones. If there's something cogently said, and I'm not talking about Christian cogent, I'm talking about clarity, I'm going to play it on these airwaves. Amanda Seals had something to say about this Haitian ICE gathering. By the way, they are gathering Haitians. Remember, they started the lie with the eating the cats and dogs. So you know it's already part of their blueprint, which is where I was going to begin with. They have a plan. Today is called Project 2025, but it was also a plan in the 1980s, which made they were trying to do this in the 1980s, which is how we got Reagan. Actually, in the 70s, you know, after Carter, they were like, oh, this is about to be a problem. These Black people are about to be a problem. Let's get Reagan. He's telegenic. He's an actor. People love him. That was the blueprint he was handed. Before Reagan, it was Nixon. Ehrlichman, they had this whole plan. Yeah. They were going to demonize the hippies who were anti-war with marijuana and call them potheads and demonize them like they're unserious. And then they were going to flood the Black community with heroin. And then also urban development. Hey, Robert Moses in New York, and start, you know, putting Black people in the center of places or right off the highway, you know, put this in these powder kegs and projects. That was on paper. That was a plan. Yeah. And then the Reagan folk were like, okay, that was good. Let's up it. Oh, here comes the crack. Iran-Contra. Here we go again with Iran. You see what's happening, right? So I'm wondering what drug is coming, because it's a plan. We're going to have a fake war with somebody. We're going to create conflict, and then we're going to demonize people, and then we're going to flood them with drugs, and then we're going to send them to jail or kill them or whatever. Rinse and repeat. This has happened. This is the third iteration. I've lived long enough to be on the third iteration. Yeah, we're now here.
I remember when people were talking about the CIA put crack in the Black community when I was in high school. I remember people saying, I'm like, y'all just crazy. Like, this is crazy people down at the laundromat talking about this stuff. And then turns out it was real. Like, right. Think about, this is crazy. Like, I just had chills thinking about this. All those QAnon people looking at all these conspiracy theories, right? And like coming up with all these like gematria and like all this BS that they're talking about, like all these conspiracies. And like the real conspiracies have happened to Black people in America.
Way worse. Way worse.
Way worse.
Way worse. All
From
right.
like
So
syphilis and like stealing black bodies and, basically pushing black people. I mean, it's wild. Wild.
so here we are. The question on the table is what's coming? What's coming? 866-801-8255, because we see now Project 2025 is 900 pages that has been added to. The first thing they had to do was get the state houses, which is why those of you who live in Texas is why Texas looks the way it does with the maps being drawn and all these other gerrymandered southern states. Why? Because black people live in these southern states and we actually have more political power than they want us to have, which is why they had to gerrymander us out of power. And we didn't show up for these local elections because we didn't understand the importance of it. And there's all of this purity test with people or whatever, but they stuck to their plan. They have a plan. So this Susan Collins is going to say whatever she needs to say, but she's going to stick to the plan because she's part of the plan.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will